My wife spent our 10-year anniversary with her parents instead of me, then lied about where she was. But when I caught her doing this, she tried to say family comes first. So I made her regret it, then woke up to 19 missed calls. Longtime lurker, first-time poster, using a throwaway because my wife knows my main account. I, male, 38, don't even know where to start. I guess with the fact that my wife, Emily, female, 36, just completely bailed on our 10-year wedding anniversary plans that I've been working on for months. And I'm sitting here alone in our house, wondering if I'm crazy for being as upset as I am. Some background, I guess. We met in grad school about 12 years ago. I was getting my master's in computer science. She was doing hers in education. We dated for 2 years, got married, and now we have 8-year-old twin girls, Molly and Connie. I work as an IT manager at a mid-sized company, and Emily teaches 3rd grade. We've had a pretty good marriage for the most part. I mean, we have our issues, like anyone, but nothing major. The problem is her parents. Her parents, Gail and Stuart, are in their mid-60s, and Emily is their only child. They've always been close, but things have gotten so much worse in the last 3 years after her dad had a minor heart scare. Nothing super serious. The doctors said it was basically just a warning sign, and he's been fine with medication. But ever since then, Emily has been completely obsessed with them. She calls them multiple times every day. She visits them 3 to 4 times a week, despite them living 45 minutes away. She constantly rearranges our family plans whenever they need literally anything. I try to be understanding because she's an only child and she worries about them. But it's gotten so extreme. Like last year, and this still makes me angry when I think about it, Emily missed Molly's dance recital that she'd been practicing for months because her mom had a cold. Not pneumonia, not COVID, not hospitalized, a regular cold. And her mom needed her to bring over soup and keep her company. Molly was devastated. I had to record the whole thing so Emily could watch it later, but it wasn't the same. When I tried to talk to her about it later, she got super defensive and said, "You don't understand what it's like to worry about your parents. My parents are both healthy and living in Florida." Anyway, back to the anniversary thing. So I've been planning this big weekend for months. I reserved the same beachfront cottage where we spent our honeymoon. I arranged for my brother Shane to watch the girls. I took Friday and Monday off work. I even booked a fancy dinner at this restaurant that's really hard to get into. I told Emily about all these plans a month in advance, and she seemed genuinely excited. She even bought a new dress for the dinner. But then 2 days before we're supposed to leave, she casually mentions that her parents might need her help that weekend to organize photo albums. I was shocked. When I reminded her about our anniversary plans, she said she knew, but her parents really needed her help. I pointed out we'd been planning this for months, and she acknowledged that but said they're getting older and need her support. When I asked if the photo albums couldn't wait just 1 more week, she told me her dad had been feeling off lately and this project would cheer him up. I suggested helping her parents the following weekend instead, but she got defensive, saying, "I've never understood her relationship with her parents." When I asked if our anniversary matters to her, she said, "Of course it does," but looked really conflicted. I was really disappointed, but tried to stay positive. I figured maybe she'd just help them for a couple hours, and then we could still salvage our plans. So on the morning of our anniversary, which was yesterday, Emily assured me she would be ready for our weekend by 5 p.m. after quickly stopping by her parents' house. So I packed the car, made sure Shane was all set to pick up the girls from school, and waited. At 4:30, she texted saying her mom wasn't feeling well and she needed to stay longer. Then at 7 p.m., she texted again saying she couldn't leave her parents and would have to miss our anniversary trip completely, but we could reschedule for another weekend. I don't even have words. I was so angry and hurt. I unpacked the car and called Shane and told him to just bring the girls home since I wasn't going anywhere after all. Emily didn't even come home last night. She texted that she was staying at her parents' house. I should mention I would never act like this with my own parents. Like, I love them, but I wouldn't bail on important plans with Emily for them. And they wouldn't want me to either. This morning, she texted like nothing major happened. Just a good morning, Pat, mom's feeling a little better, might be home this afternoon kind of text. I haven't responded because honestly, I don't know what to say. That wouldn't start a huge fight. I know this probably sounds like such a stupid thing to be upset about compared to the serious problems other people post about here. I mean, she didn't cheat or anything, but I feel like I'm always competing with her parents for attention, and I always lose. And missing our 10-year anniversary for freaking photo albums just feels like a huge insult. Am I overreacting? Is this just what happens in long marriages? Sometimes I wonder if maybe I'm just being selfish, expecting her to put our marriage first. I don't know. Edit. Holy crap, this blew up while I was at work. Thanks for all the responses. To answer some common questions. No, she hasn't always been this extreme with her parents. It definitely got worse after her dad's heart scare. But the last year or so, it's gone from very attached to completely enmeshed. Had to look that word up after several of you used it. Her mom's not feeling well is super vague. Could be anything from a headache to a cold to just feeling off. No, I don't think she's making it up, but based on past experience, it's probably something minor that doesn't actually require Emily's physical presence for 24 plus hours. For those asking about her relationship with our daughters, she's actually a great mom when she's present, but the girls have definitely noticed how often she leaves for her parents' house. Molly asked me last night, why does Grandma need Mommy more than we do? And I had no idea what to say. Yes, we've tried couples counseling before about 2 years ago. We went to 3 sessions, and then Emily's mom had some minor outpatient procedure, and Emily said she didn't have time for therapy anymore because she needed to help her mom recover. We never went back. A lot of you are asking if her parents manipulate her directly or if they've always been this demanding. Honestly, I don't know for sure. When we're actually with them, they seem like normal, nice people. They're always polite to me, but they do call her a lot, and there's always some emergency that only Emily can help with. It's hard to tell if they're deliberately manipulating her or if she's just created this dynamic herself. Either way, it's exhausting. Several people asked what happened on our actual anniversary day before she left. Nothing special, really. We said happy anniversary to each other in the morning. I gave her a card with a note about how much I love her, had planned to give her actual gift at the cottage. She gave me a quick kiss and said she'd see me at 5 for our trip. That was it. Now for the first update. First, I just want to say thanks to everyone who responded to my last post. I honestly wasn't expecting that many replies. I've been trying to respond to comments when I can, but it's been a crazy couple of weeks. So, a lot has happened since I posted about Emily missing our anniversary weekend. And honestly, I'm still processing everything. Writing this is making me feel sick again. Emily finally came home late Sunday evening, 2 days after she was supposed to leave for our anniversary trip. She brought a gift, a watch from the department store near her parents' house. She seemed apologetic, but also defensive. She suggested we could reschedule our anniversary trip for the following weekend instead, like it was just some casual dinner plans, not our 10th wedding anniversary. I tried to have a calm conversation about how hurt I was. I wasn't yelling, just explaining that I felt bad that she'd missed something I'd been planning for months. She kept saying that her mom had been experiencing severe migraine symptoms and needed her there. She said sometimes family emergencies happen and we have to be flexible. And I believed her. I was still hurt, but what was I supposed to say? I had no way to prove otherwise, so I basically just accepted it, though I was still upset. Anyway, we kind of limped along for the next few days. Things were tense but civil. I was still sleeping in our bed, but definitely keeping to my side. The girls could tell something was off, but we tried to keep things normal for them. Then, on Wednesday, 3 days after Emily came home, I got a call from my colleague Brandon. We were talking about some work stuff, and then he mentioned he saw Emily at Montelli's on Saturday night. He waved, but she didn't see him. I stopped when I heard this. Montelli's is a popular Italian restaurant downtown, not her parents' house where she was supposedly taking care of her sick mother. After I got off the phone with Brandon, I checked our shared location history. We set it up years ago for safety reasons, and honestly, I never look at it, but I had to know. Sure enough, Emily had been at Montelli's Saturday night around 7 p.m., then went to her parents' house after. I felt awful. She lied to me about where she was. While I was sitting at home alone on our anniversary, when she got home from work that day, I waited until after the girls were in bed, then asked her about Saturday night. She first claimed she was at her parents' house the whole time. When I mentioned Brandon seeing her at Montelli's, her face dropped, and she admitted she did go out for dinner. She claimed she was with her sick mother most of the day and they just went out to eat. When I pressed her about who they was, she admitted it was her parents. Finally, she confessed her mom wasn't actually sick. She told me the real reason she missed our anniversary was because it was her parents' 45th wedding anniversary. She missed our anniversary for their anniversary. She said they had planned a special dinner and wanted her there. When I asked why she lied, she said she knew I wouldn't understand how important her parents are to her. The argument got worse from there. She eventually admitted her parents had guilted her into attending their anniversary dinner instead of going on our trip. They knew it was the same weekend as our anniversary. I had mentioned it to them months ago and still planned their celebration for that night. But what really hurt was when Emily told me, "You have to understand, Charles, family comes first." I said, "I thought we were family, me and the girls." And she looked me in the eyes and said, "It's different. My parents will always come first." I felt completely betrayed. How do you respond to your wife telling you that you and your children will always be her second priority? During this fight, I also found out Emily has been sharing everything about our marriage with her parents for years, like personal details about our arguments, our finances, even our sex life. Her mom gives her advice about how to handle me. It makes me sick thinking about how many private things her parents know about our relationship. The past week has been terrible. I've been going through the motions, going to work, taking care of the girls, making dinner, but emotionally, I'm done. I've completely withdrawn from Emily. We barely speak beyond what's necessary for the kids and the house. Emily seems to think this is just another rough patch that will blow over. Like missing our anniversary and telling me her parents will always come first are just minor issues that I'll get over. She tried to cuddle with me in bed last night and seemed surprised when I moved away. After a lot of thinking, I've decided I can't continue in a marriage where I'll always be second place, where my kids will always be second place to their grandparents. I've started making some plans, but I need to be careful about this. I'm not asking if I should leave anymore. I know what I need to do. But does my reaction seem proportionate? Am I overreacting to what she said? Part of me still can't believe she actually said her parents will always come first. Edit. So many people are asking about her parents and why they would intentionally schedule their anniversary celebration the same weekend as ours when they knew about our plans. Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe they didn't think our plans were that important. Maybe they wanted to see if Emily would choose them over me. I just don't know. What I do know is that Emily could have said no to them and didn't. To those asking if I've considered counseling, yes. We tried it before, as I mentioned in my last post. Emily bailed after 3 sessions to help her mom recover from some minor procedure. I would consider trying again, but only if Emily actually acknowledges there's a serious problem here, which she doesn't seem to. Some people are questioning whether I'm leaving out details or if there were signs before we got married. Looking back, there were definitely red flags I ignored. When we were dating, she canceled plans with me a few times to help her parents with stuff, but it was nowhere near this extreme. It definitely escalated after her dad's heart scare and then got much worse this past year. To answer questions about what the girls know, they know something is wrong, but we haven't told them anything specific. I'm not making any major moves until I talk to a lawyer about custody arrangements. They're 8 and they deserve stability. And yes, I absolutely plan to fight for 50-50 custody at minimum. Now for the second update. So it's been about 6 weeks since my last update. First, thank you to everyone who commented. I read every single response, even though I couldn't reply to all of them. I know I'm not perfect, like several of you pointed out, lol, but your support and advice honestly helped me through some really dark days. For the first 2 weeks after our fight, I basically just went through the motions. Getting up, making breakfast for the girls, going to work, coming home, helping with homework, making dinner, all while feeling completely numb inside. Emily and I barely talked beyond stuff about the kids or the house, like Molly has soccer at 4 or we need milk kind of conversations. The weird thing was, Emily seemed to think everything was fine, or at least that we were just having a rough patch that would blow over. She kept trying to act normal, suggesting we watch movies together or asking about my day. One morning, she even suggested we visit her parents for Sunday dinner as a family, like nothing had happened. I just stared at her. How could she possibly think I'd want to sit across the dinner table from people who deliberately sabotaged our anniversary? Anyway, during those 2 weeks, I was quietly making plans. I'm not normally the type to be secretive. Honestly, I'm usually an open book, but I knew I needed to protect myself and the girls. I met with a financial advisor about separating our assets. I researched apartments near the girls' school. I even had a consultation with a family lawyer about custody arrangements. I know that sounds extreme, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. My parents will always come first comment. What really pushed me over the edge happened about 10 days after our fight. I was helping the girls with homework, and Connie mentioned something about how Grandma says Daddy doesn't understand what family loyalty means. I tried to stay calm and asked when Grandma said this. Turns out both her parents had been making comments like this to the girls during their weekly visits. Apparently, they'd been saying stuff like, "Your daddy doesn't appreciate how special family is, and your mommy has to take care of us because that's what good daughters do." I was furious. It's one thing to manipulate your adult daughter, but to drag our children into this, to try to turn them against me. That was the moment I knew I couldn't stay in this situation any longer. So I made a plan. I called my brother Shane, who's been amazing through all this, and made sure he could help with the girls if needed. Then on Thursday, Emily always visits her parents after work on Thursdays. I went to the bank and moved half our joint savings into a new personal account. 2, packed essential belongings in my car. 3, wrote a detailed letter explaining my decision to separate. 4, and then I called her parents. I know this probably sounds crazy and confrontational, but I felt like I needed to talk to them directly before I left. I was honestly shaking when I dialed their number. And yeah, I know their number by heart after 12 years of marriage. Stuart, father-in-law, answered on the 3rd ring. He sounded surprised to hear my voice. "Charles, is everything all right?" I remember taking a deep breath and telling him I wanted to talk about something important. I mentioned how they had celebrated their 45th anniversary the same weekend as our 10th. There was this weird pause, and then he got defensive. He told me family celebrations take precedence, and that I'd understand when I was their age. I asked him if he realized how their constant demands were affecting our marriage. I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something about how Emily missed our daughter's dance recital and our anniversary because they always expect her to drop everything for them. Then I heard Gail grab the phone. She immediately went on the attack, saying I've always been selfish about Emily's time and that I should be grateful their daughter cares about her parents. She added that some men would appreciate having a wife who values family. I tried to stay calm. I really did. I told them I was separating from Emily because of her inability to prioritize our marriage and our children, and that I'd already found an apartment and consulted a lawyer. Stuart got back on the phone and started yelling, called me manipulative and ungrateful, said I was trying to isolate Emily from her family. Gail was crying in the background, saying this would destroy Emily. Stuart then threatened to make things difficult if I went through with this. I think he meant financially, but honestly, it was unclear. I ended the call saying I hoped they'd eventually respect boundaries for everyone's sake, including the girls. Then I hung up before they could say anything else. My hands were literally shaking after that call. I felt sick, but also relieved, like I'd finally stood up to them after years of just accepting their behavior. I left the letter for Emily on our bed, drove to my new apartment, which I'd signed the lease for that morning, and turned off my phone before going to sleep. I was emotionally exhausted, but felt like I'd finally done something instead of just complaining. The next morning, I turned on my phone and found exactly 19 missed calls. 7 from Emily, 5 from her parents, 3 from Shane, 2 from our friends Mike and Jessica, 1 from my mom, 1 from the twins' school, which panicked me for a second. The voicemails ranged from Emily crying and asking where I was, to her dad threatening financial consequences, to my brother just saying, "Call me as soon as possible." I called the school first. Turns out Emily had called them saying there was a family emergency and she might be late picking up the girls. Then I called Shane to let him know I was okay. Then my mom. I was still working up the courage to call Emily when she showed up at my apartment. I'd deliberately chosen a place close to the girls' school, and I guess she figured that out. She pounded on the door like she was trying to break it down. When I opened it, her eyes were red and puffy from crying. I invited her in. I'd been expecting this conversation would happen eventually. She immediately started yelling about how I could abandon our family without even talking to her. I corrected her that I wasn't abandoning our daughters. I was separating from her. Big difference. Then she told me her parents were beside themselves with this humiliation. That's what she led with, her parents' feelings, not her own feelings. Not how this affected our daughters, but how her parents felt about it. I pointed this out, and for the first time, she actually seemed to hear what I was saying. She just collapsed onto my couch and started sobbing, like those deep, ugly sobs where you can barely catch your breath. When she could finally talk again, she admitted she's always felt trapped between competing loyalties, that her parents had always expected her to put them first, even before we were married, that she doesn't know how to say no to them without feeling overwhelming guilt. I told her straight up that I refuse to be second place in my own marriage, that our daughters deserve to be their mother's priority, that while I understand loving and supporting parents, there's a difference between being a caring daughter and being completely enmeshed with them. She asked if there was any way to save our relationship. I said only with professional help and real boundaries with her parents. Then she told me something shocking. Her parents had offered to buy us a house near their own as a solution to our problems. I almost laughed. That would only make everything 1,000 times worse. I told her absolutely not. That would just make the enmeshment even more impossible to fix. And then, Emily said something that actually gave me a tiny bit of hope. She admitted that she might have a problem with boundaries. Finally, an acknowledgement of the actual issue. We talked for hours. Eventually, we agreed to a 3-month trial separation with mandatory family counseling. Emily initially wanted her parents to participate in some sessions. Of course, she did. But our therapist recommended we work on our marriage first before involving extended family. It's been about 6 weeks now. We're doing 2 counseling sessions a week, 1 couple session and 1 just for Emily. She's still living in our house with the girls, and I see them almost every day. I take them to school most mornings and have them overnight on weekends. The biggest change is that Emily has actually started establishing boundaries with her parents. She's declined some of their requests, which apparently caused a huge guilt trip from her mom, but she held firm. She stopped sharing details about our counseling sessions with them, and she only visits them once a week now instead of 3 to 4 times. Small steps, but real ones. I'm still hurt by everything that happened. The anniversary betrayal, the parents come first, comment, finding out they were talking badly about me to our daughters. That doesn't just disappear overnight. But for the first time in years, Emily seems to be genuinely recognizing the damage her enmeshment with her parents has caused. We're planning a second first date this weekend, our first real time alone together in months. I'm nervous, but also kind of hopeful. We still have a ton of work to do to rebuild trust, but at least now we're both acknowledging the actual problem. I'll update again after we decide whether to reconcile or proceed with divorce. Right now, I honestly don't know which way it will go, but at least I feel like I have some control over my life again instead of just watching my marriage slowly die. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I regret calling her parents before leaving. Honestly, no. I probably could have handled it better, but after years of them controlling the narrative, I wanted them to hear directly from me why I was leaving. And I wanted to make it clear this wasn't just about the anniversary. It was about the entire dynamic they've created.